Welcome to the Boys in a Boat, Racing Towards STEM Excellence, Project-Based Learning with the Boys in a Boat. I am Joella Houselman. I'm the principal of Edgewood Middle School in Warsaw, Indiana. I have with me today 3 of our staff members. I have Lori Thompson, who is an English Language Arts teacher, Abby Rich Creek, who is our STEM coach and a Project Lead the Way teacher, and I also have Mr. Fleming, a science and honor science teacher. And together we're going to share with you the story of an incredible journey we took as an entire school when we did our first ever school-wide read and school-wide project-based learning unit. We have a school that has about 500 students, 7th and 8th grade. We're in northern Indiana. 52% of our students are from free and reduced lunches. 23% of our students are special needs, and we have a 50% EL population. Our community demographics include orthopedic capital of the world with Zimmer Biomet, Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic. We also have a huge agribusiness center with Maple Leaf Farms, Tortime Rock, and Louis Dreyfus. To give you a little background about where it began, we actually purchased the book, The Boys in the Boat, one for every student. We read the book as a school. We also had the audiobook available so students could listen and read along as together we participated in reading an incredible story that involves a little bit of background right from Warsaw, Indiana, and our superintendent, Dr. David Hofford. The reason he brought this to us is he was a history teacher in our high school. When he was working with his high school students, he asked them, they were learning about 1936 Olympics, they were talking about who won gold, and they discovered there was a rowing team that actually won gold. And so the students decided to write a letter to each one of the rowing members. When the rowing members went to write back, some did respond, and actually one of them was Joe Rance. Joe Rance and his daughter put together a multiple-page letter telling about their adventures, and that letter, back to a high school class who asked some questions, led to the writing of the book, The Boys in the Boat.
So what did we wanted to illustrate here is that through the PBL, we did an integrated STEM PBL unit. And how we did that. So we have science, where we talked about buoyancy, friction, displacement. Technology we use for research and just tools in general to make the boat, and all the prototypes up until we actually floated our boats and raced them. Engineering, obviously the planning, design process, and all the troubleshooting and problem solving that went along with making your boat float, given the size constraints of the challenge. And then finally, the math. We did scaled models, and the students had to figure from their small scale to large scale of the math that was involved to get it to that point.
So the story of Joe Rance that you're going to find out when you read it is a story about a young man during the time of the Depression that wanted to go to school, wanted to go to college. He was abandoned by his family. He had to basically raise himself from the age of 14 on, and he was committed that he was going to do better with his life. You read about perseverance, you read about overcoming obstacles, you read about somebody who believed in themselves, but struggled with so much adversity. And you read about what happens with him learning how to be a team, when all he knew how to do was take care of himself, and you get the opportunity to realize that what we did as a school is we began to work as a team. And you will have teams that will come together and build boats, you'll have teams that come together and design boats, and you'll have teams that come together to compete.
There's some moments in life you never forget. The Depression hit everyone hard. No jobs, no food. We were broke.
Looks like you still owe a balance on this semester.
So what's that about making some money?
You're the wrong team. You're on, you get a part-time job, including a cheap place to live.
8-man crew is the most difficult team sport in the world. The average human body is just not meant for such things. Most of you will not be chosen. Beautiful speech, Coach.
You're announcing the team today. Are you gonna make it?
We wrote out of need.
Come on, boy.
The need to stay in school, the need to eat, to sleep.
We gotta keep these, right? As long as we stay on the team.
Washington Huskies coach is bringing an inexperienced vote to competition.
They said we couldn't compete with the richest schools in the nation.
The Washington vote is taking the lead. Washington has done it!
I got 9 seconds under the course record. Olympic year this year. Olympic year? I didn't realize.
That bunch of kids smelled like no one else has ever come through here. Everybody else tires and just gets stronger.
We have the vote that I believe could qualify for an Olympic spot.
You know what you're doing. They said we couldn't beat the Germans. We gotta beat those other schools first, but coach says we have to.
Maybe we can row as a team.
If you guys don't get yourselves figured out, you're not racing at all.
Boys, that boat. Sorry now. But they didn't understand who we were.
Let's show them what's in this book. I don't believe what I see.
That's us. They're connected. Sweat and pain.
For what it's worth, I'm proud of you boys. Inspiring. You missed the part where I told them not to tip over. Vote for your country. Vote for each other.
For all the people who never believed in you. As one. As one.
And so as you can see, there was an incredible movie that came from a really interesting book, and that together brought us together as Edgewood Middle School, where we worked on teamwork, trust, perseverance, hard work, overcoming obstacles, bravery, friendship, determination, and we are so excited to get to share that adventure with you because we did this as an entire school.
All right, so the way we implemented this in our building was we started from the staff. So our staff, we took our staff through the entire training process, what our students would be doing. And we first went through, we taught them how to go through a design process. And we trained each staff member, paired up, and we went through what we would be expecting students to do. Once we were done with our design, we tested. So we had each individual group would test, and they would decide, hey, which one works better, and then they would redesign, and then they'd come back. And then this was all of us, the entire building. So we took our entire staff, trained them as students to become teachers to their students in order for this to take place.
All right, so as Mrs. Hasselman said and described, that this was a whole school-wide endeavor. And so we started off with our ELA department. We came together as a department and we created a shared Google folder that had all of the clips. It was a pacing guide that took the teachers. They knew exactly what they were doing every day. So it was hyperlinked to all of the audio, to all of the activity sheets. We are a school that we had a 90-day plan to increase reading comprehension with students. And the way that we wanted to do that is we put in with a lot of those activity sheets is we put in those reading strategies. We were really focusing on the reading strategies, and we were just trying to build a love for reading.
All right, so like what Mrs. Thompson was talking about, so we built this around our homeroom structure, right? Roughly 15 to 20 students per homeroom. Each class then chose their own theme and their own design. Then we worked through collaboration where they divided up the different opportunities to work on these different avenues, and the students decided how this was going to then unfold within each individual classroom. In our state, in the state of Indiana, is a lot of based on what is important in employability skills. All right, so creativity, leadership, we're fostering time management, flexibility, these types of things to make our students ready for the 21st century when it comes to workforce development.
So we practice the design process. Now there are thousands out there in the world, so we chose a 6-step simple design process that the students and staff would be able to understand and be able to implement. So we came up with the design sheets with a driving question and a goal for the students to understand what they were doing, so that we know that they know what's going to happen. With that, we have the thumbnails, which are small 3D drawings that they could practice for their prototype designs. And then a detail drawing, favorably a multi-view, a front, top, and side with everything labeled, so they have a clear plan of what they're going to build. So, what are they doing? So they made prototypes of what they thought they would like to build of their boats. Now they covered this, they used cardstock and masking tape. And they covered everything with masking tape after they built the cardboard boat. And then these I have in my hand, or for my students at the time, they built little compartments to hold pennies. So yes, your boat had to hold pennies, and that's how we discovered which boat could float and go the fastest. So here are the 2 prototypes that we had, all kinds, hundreds of different designs, and that's how they based upon building their big boat. So what we're going to do during our live presentation is we are going to hand out some gum with some aluminum foil wrappers. You're going to take the gum and you can chew it or not, that's your decision, and or throw it away, I guess. You're going to take the wrapper and you're going to build a boat, and we're going to see how many pennies you will float on your boat. We also have a bowl of water, so a couple of you can crowd around and test it as we go through this. So we're looking for the most pennies that can be floated on one wrapper on the water. And of course, whoever has the most will get a prize.
All right, so like what we said, this is integrated throughout the course, throughout the entire building. All right, so what we each contributed from each department was a video in order to help other homeroom teachers express to their students different aspects of this entirely big project. Right? So our math department created a video and a lesson to demonstrate the idea of what scale is. And they created this lesson in order to make sure that kids understood that, hey, we started from this model and now we're going to make a full-size version of that. The science department, we focused on the buoyancy and the forces involved with displacement, and we talked about different things about drag. We created video to help students understand some of these concepts, some of these very complex scientific concepts. In history class, they also created a video. They talked about the relevance of what was happening in Joe Rance's life, the ideas of the Great Depression, pre-World War II, what was happening in the world in that respect, and why the Olympics during that time were such a big deal.
Yes, as an ELA teacher, we definitely appreciated the videos, because not being strong in math or science, so those were such great helpful tools for all teachers who felt like they really didn't understand some of the concepts that we were going to be working with our students. As they were talking, so we just had everybody step up. Our physical PE teachers, they created a video because some of our kids had never rowed a boat or had been in a canoe. So they got to see a video that kind of, because our, one of our constraints was you had to have 2 people in your boat on race day. So they were just talking, if you both are paddling on one side, you're just kind of gonna go in circles. So they had a video, and all homeroom classrooms were able to get an actual oar and be able to paddle their boat. Our family and consumer science teacher, again, we were talking about that the Depression era, and she had all of her classes actually create, from that time period, Depression cake. So all the classes made a Depression cake, and every homeroom class got a whole cake, and we cut it up, and each student got to try a piece. And we really talked about, actually go back real quick, why would you add vinegar? So we talked about that agent of, you had to have a leavening agent to be able to make your cake rise, because eggs and butter were scarce during the Depression. We also had our art department, because as one of the things that we were doing with our boat is we created a team flag. And so we used the engineering design process to create that flag, and it was really nice that her video took you step by step into creating that flag. Most of the homeroom classrooms used fabric markers, but we do have some availability in our classrooms that we had some graphic designs that used sublimation. So that was pretty cool how they were able to use besides that fabric marker. Our band, this was awesome. Our band director also had his students learn the 1936 Olympic hymn along with other songs, and on race day, everybody that was going outside, they were playing the music as everybody was getting judged on their boats. Not only did they play during judging, but as we all had a procession, we did a procession all the way over to our high school, that's just right in our backyard, and we used their swimming pool, and so as we were entering, just like kind of at the Olympics, they were playing some of that Olympic song as we entered. We also had some rubrics. So we brought in a lot of community members. We had business members, area businesses, we had school board members, we had parent organization members, just there was a ton of community involvement during this, this unit. And so we had, as they were coming around to judge, here are some examples of the rubrics that we used when we were getting judged. You know, the costume, looking at that creativity. Were all kids participating? Our flag design, was it easy to see? Did it implement all 4 STEM categories? Did it have that wow factor? So this was something that was, and just that sportsmanship. And here's an awesome video. We were able to take a drone view of what was going on race day.
As you can see, here are the different themes that each class chose, and then as you can see that they, throughout the whole class, they made it happen. And boat the same way, costumes to go along with what their classroom believed in. This was seen in the overhead footage of the drone. And here's the day of the race. We walked over to the high school pool, which is walking distance, and the students raced their boats. And there was a 7th grade winner and an 8th grade winner. We also had some of our student resource officers that also raced against our students for fun. Some boats made it, and some boats didn't.
And that one didn't. So as you can see, this is an incredibly big project, but it can be done. And it takes all the different disciplines. It takes everybody working together with science, technology, engineering, math, creativity, commitment, teamwork, all of that, and with the huge input from our community, our school board, our fellow members of Warsaw Community Schools, all the teachers, the staff, made it possible for us to have an incredible experience, which we highly recommend other schools try, because when you all work together, there's an incredible amount of learning that takes place.
Never give up. You need to overcome your challenges. Be a hard worker and incorporate everyone's ideas. Just so you know, that actual video was put together by our high school filming department. The students themselves created that video, taking all the clips that we had put together. They made it into a really great video. I think really showcases the project well. So now you know the framework has been created. And what our students are experiencing this year is our next school-wide PBL unit, which focuses on rockets, and we are heading to space.
The thing we wanted to point out to everybody is the idea is, once you have this template done and you have your staff in place that are willing to take on different pieces of this, a school-wide PBL actually kind of falls into place. And it's a great opportunity not only for the staff, but for the kids as well.
Do you have any questions?
If you have any questions, please contact us. And here's access to our presentation.